Over the last month, something like 1,000 of my subscribers have sent in their awesome monster and creature designs, where I encouraged people to mess around with the proportions of their characters. There was so much cool stuff, and now, like I do once a month on PopCross Studios, I'm gonna take a bunch of the submissions and redraw them in my style in this video. And throughout the video, I'm gonna flash up on screen a whole bunch of the awesome stuff that was submitted. And I know it's not what I usually do with the submission scroll or the honorable mentions, but a lot of times people would miss their characters when they were in the submission scroll, because there's just so many that it goes too fast and people can't see their characters. And these videos are just taking so much longer for me to make because there's so many more submissions that I go through all of them and edit the videos and do all the stuff for this video myself. So changing things up a little bit, hopefully now the art that does get shown is much bigger and clearer to the artists that created them. Hope everyone's cool with the new format, and without further ado, let's get into the very first redraw. First up, coming to us on the Discord from Doom Goblin, is a character called Ashgar, a huge demonic creature who lives deep underground and guards his master's treasure vault, filled with gold and powerful artifacts. Over the years, he's faced many brave adventurers, but is yet to meet one that is able to defeat him. And this creature, everything about it just caught me right away, especially the proportions, which was part of the prompt, though that works well. I love that he's got both some big kind of bruiser arms and then those kind of spindly little sort of creepy arms. That was a great combo. I love the shape of its head. It's cool and creative. His big kind of rectangle-y teeth were really great. I love the little touch of he's got some rings on some of his horns and on his arms that are kind of that creepy, like they're almost just his bones. Like he doesn't have the flesh between them, which I loved the look of, and also creeped me out as I was drawing, because I just pictured if someone was able to stick their hand between the bones of my arm, and it was just a creepy thought, and just everything about this design worked so well, and especially loved his little pipe. Like, he's very pensive, so I decided to draw him as if he's in argument with another demon or something, pointing the pipes, going something like, "Well, see here, good chap, what do you think about this?" It's probably not what his voice sounds like. It'd probably be a lot more like, "Brr, monster," or whatever. I don't know how much you want the character to lean over into a comedic side, but whatever the intention, I absolutely love this design. Thank you for submitting it, and I hope you like my version, Doom Goblin. Next up, we've got a super cool graphical kind of design drawn character sent in from very long time submitter and subscriber Utune Art. And here's the description. This is Monstrosity. He's your generic monster from the outside, but is a total psychopath inside. He's not that terrifying, but can shred anything that comes his way into pieces. In this redraw, I took a very different approach. I used a mouse to create a polygraphic illustration and exaggerated the thighs to emphasize the fact that all his power comes from his legs, considering he's just a head with legs. And I love the design. The simplicity was cool. You did a really great job with the vector drawing in Illustrator. I think that's what that's called. And I liked that I had a little bit of room to add my own flavor to it, because the original is a very 2D flat Illustrator kind of drawing, and I can just kind of like flesh it out a bit in my style and really mess with the lighting, because I can do a bunch of layers of lighting since he's some very simple shapes. I also decided to add a little bit of extra flavor with some scratch marks. I tore his ear a little bit to make it look like this guy has been scrapping a lot. The only thing I changed from a color standpoint, I think, was his eyes. I decided to make those yellow to pop out really nicely against the purple. Oh, and then I also added like a couple triangle streaks on his back. And because the design was nice and simple, I had more time to focus on all of the details, so I really like how this one turned out. It was a super cool submission, Utune Art. Thanks for being with the channel for so long, and I hope you dig my version of your Monstrosity. Next up is the super cool Hammerhead Glacier Beast coming to us from Colson Woodard, and here's the description that was sent in. This monster is feared by all in the snowy towns of Greenland. With its massive claws and razor-sharp teeth, there is nothing around to challenge this beast. Without warning, this creature will demolish towns in the dead of night, leaving people confused and terrified, scattering like ants. It will stay in the towns it destroys for weeks before moving to its next unlucky destination. This behemoth is very territorial. Coming between this beast and its property will be the last thing you ever do. Very few hunters have tried to slay this monster, but those who have sought out to do so in the hopes of retrieving the giant crystal on its back and all the glory that comes with it have tragically perished. Do yourself a favor and leave it alone. I loved everything about this drawing, the style of your rendering, the layout of it. It's just such a cool looking creature. And for mine, I messed around with a few different poses, but I liked going with this one because you mentioned that it's such a big colossal beast. I wanted us kind of looking up at it as if it's ready to stomp down on someone. Now that I'm looking at the redraw while it's going, I'm noticing that you said it had razor sharp teeth, and I didn't really give it teeth besides the ones that are kind of built into its head. So that's my bad, sorry about that. I didn't really think about that when I decided that I wanted to have its mouth open. Hope you don't mind that I missed out on that little bit, but besides that, it's such a cool design, I loved redrawing it, and I hope you like my version of the Hammerhead Glacier Beast. Next is another super cool creature coming to us on the Discord from Maddie76. And here's what Maddie76 had to say. This creature was created when an alien bonded with an abandoned war robot to enhance its abilities. It now has spectacular strength and powerful tendrils that come from its back. I hope you like it, and I definitely do. It struck me right away as a sort of like, it reminded me a bit of like a venomized Hulkbuster or something, and just the concept was super cool, and I love the proportions on it. I noticed that I was really drawn to characters that have like a really skinny bicep kind of area, and then massive forearms and hands. I tried to make sure I was picking a variety of characters, but there are a few in this video like that, and it's super cool. I love the extra little arms coming off of its back, and I especially dug that you had some of the goopy bits coming out of its eyes. I play with that a little bit more in the coloring stage, and I also love that his top half of his body is kind of floating a little bit above the other half with a few tendrils of the goop going between the two. It's just, everything about this was super cool, and the coloring was really fun. This was a great balance of detail and then not detail, like sections of lots of tendrils and strands, and then some sections of breathing room. And I obviously messed around a little bit with where I was putting the tendrils and details, but I tried to keep it a consistent ratio like you had of detailed bits and less detailed bits. Thank you for submitting it, Maddie76, and I hope you like my version. Here you go. Next up is a character coming to us from Gardigiest. Gardigiest? One of those is probably right, hopefully. And I really love this creature. Here's the description. This is a subspecies of Naga called a cotton claw. They're the quickest to bite a person and even quicker to use their huge knuckles to end an argument. However, they're also the smallest of Nagas, so I guess they're prone to cases of little man syndrome. Their eyes have a faint glow in the night, and though Naga poison is not lethal, the paralysis can last for a few hours. And I was super in the mood to draw a character like this because I just rewatched Clash of the Titans, where they've got a Medusa in there as one of the fight scenes, and I really love Nagas, and there's one on the cover of the Bestiary book that I reference a lot and I talked about in my dragon episodes. I think they're a super cool type of creature, and I like the color scheme on yours, and I really like that sort of look in any drawing where if a character is supposed to look a bit creepy, they've got a bit of hair over their eyes, and I really like that your version didn't have any pupils either. And I messed around with the shading under the eyes as well. I added a bit of extra black color in there, and then also put a bunch of shadow on it to really emphasize that area is darker, but I didn't shade the eyes at all so that they pop out nicely through the hair and shade. I also made sure to take into account that they're smaller, so I didn't have us looking up at them. I tried to make it like they're looking up at someone else and swinging a fist. I tried to exaggerate it a bit more because you mentioned that they have nice big fists, so I have them doing kind of a why I oughta sort of thing. It was a super fun character to redraw. I hope you like my version, Gargigiest, even if I'm saying your name wrong, and here it is. Next up, we have a super cool looking one-eyed turtle beast monster coming to us from Giant Coins. And Giant Coins is on Instagram, that's spelt with a K. As soon as I saw this submission and redrew it, and I went and followed Giant Coins because this is such awesome artwork. The design, the simple rendering, it's all really, really great. There isn't much in the way of a description except that the character's name is Jacque Mo. And I knew with my version I wanted to try a slightly different pose and still keeping it true to your original. The expression I gave it might not necessarily fit with the character because the way you draw the character, it looks pretty serene and calm almost, and I made it a little bit angrier, but when I looked at that sort of teeth mouth situation on its stomach, I was like, oh, I want to do something with that, so I decided to have one part of its mouth kind of opening up and it having a little bit of a snarly eye staring or leering over at someone in the distance, like it's not necessarily about to attack, but it's ready to protect itself from someone else. I also lightened up the colors a little bit, and I hope you don't mind that, but overall with the colors, I really loved what you did. The purple eye being the only section of purple in the character really draws us straight to that eye, and all the glints and gleams in the eye were really nice. I mean, I just love characters with one big eye. And I've noticed I also really love drawing characters with a bit of a like furrowed brow because I can just add extra details up in there. If you think about it, that's probably a recurring thing in a lot of my character drawings with, you know, faces and eyes and whatever. But overall, this was super cool. Giant Coins, thank you so much. Everyone go check out his Instagram, and I hope you like my drawing of Jacque Mo. Next up is a submission coming to us from Better Than Kittens or Yestin. But Better Than Kittens is the name of Yestin's YouTube channel, which isn't specifically an art channel, it's like a comedy channel, but make sure to check that out if you're interested. And this character, not a long description, just that it's a mutant frog. He was a normal frog until he swam in a lake of toxins. And I was drawn into this one by a bunch of different things. I loved that it had really long gangly limbs. Those proportions were nice and cool. I like that you had the tail kind of circling around it, focusing us on the character, and I really liked that it had a bunch of different kinds of fingers. Like on one of its feet it kind of has hooves, and then on the other it's sort of a bit more claw looking, and then one hand kind of has these stubby little fingers. It was just really cool how messed up looking this thing was. And I also liked that it looked like it had some kind of peeling skin, so I could draw muscle underneath parts of the skin that were peeling back. I think my only regret about my drawing of this one is that I didn't make it as kind of rough and visceral looking as your original. Yours looks more torn up than the version that I did. But I had a lot of fun messing around with this one, especially in its teeth. I wanted some of its teeth to look a little bit bent, like they could almost fall out soon. And I really like this idea of having two of its eyes kind of looking in different directions, and I added a little bit of extra color in the eye to just draw our attention to that a bit more and make it a little bit creepier. But overall, it was such a cool original design. I had a blast redrawing it, Yestin. Everyone go check out Better Than Kittens, and I hope you like my version of the character. Next up, we've got another Discord submission coming to us from Jubilee with 8 E's, and let's get into the description because I really love this one. I've named this creature the horrible abomination that shouldn't exist, and I think it really fits. I tried messing with the proportions and still have it fit with my original idea, so it has one long claw and the rest of its limbs are short and stumpy. Its tail is majestic and flows with the sea, and its glaring eyes stare into your soul. It's a mix of a bunch of different sea creatures with parts from a goblin shark, oarfish, terrible claw lobster, and more. I know my coloring could be better, but I'm not huge on coloring things. Finally, for the handwriting, sorry, it's messy. And I like the coloring on this piece. I thought it looked really good. And this seems like a character that you did a bunch of research to design them, which is really admirable, and you decided on what parts of what creatures to put in good spots, especially with the goblin shark head, because those heads in real life are super creepy, and the way you drew it is great. It just makes the monster really horrifying. And I love that it was a character with nice, short, stumpy limbs, because I haven't drawn a lot of characters like that, and that's not my go-to thing. And I like how the nice long tail kind of contrasts that. I probably should have made the claw longer on my version, because you specified that it's long, and your version it's longer. But besides that, I really like how mine turned out. I tried to make him lumpy and textured and gross, but also sort of have cute-ish eyes in an almost creepy way. I don't know if that makes sense or works, but I had a blast drawing it. Jubilee, I hope you like my version of the horrible abomination that shouldn't exist. Next up, coming to us from one of our awesome moderators on the Discord, is Jesus Crust with what has got to be one of the coolest things anyone has ever submitted for a community redraw. This thing is awesome looking, and I love the description too. It goes like this. This is the Blue Steel Cave Crawler, a dragon which, due to living underground, has lost its wings. Despite the loss of its flying capabilities, it is an agile dragon with gecko-like claws, allowing it to stick to walls and ceilings. Adding to this is their large upper body, which allows it to launch itself at prey. True to its name, these beasts dwell in caves, spending most of their lives in there, though human miners have been driving these dragons out of their caves by mining in the caves. Because of this, these dragons are going extinct, with the remaining ones growing more and more aggressive and territorial. It's a cool description and an awesome design, and I was kind of nervous going into it because there's so many different detailed, mechanical-inspired looking bits that I'm nervous to draw it. I definitely ended up changing a few of the details inadvertently because there was just so much going on, and because I drew him in a different pose, there were some parts of his body that were covered on your version that I had to just kind of make up myself a little bit, but I tried to keep it very close to your original. I think I saturated it up a little bit more, and I think I like it better the way you have it with it desaturated. I mean, because it lives in caves, people wouldn't be seeing as much of its color because it would be darker down there. And of course, the proportions on it were super cool. I love that it had the super little hands on the ends of really long, big, bulky forearms. It was super cool. I loved redrawing it. I hope you like my version, even though I think I still like your version more. And thanks for being an awesome moderator, Cheezus. Here you go. Alright, that's all for this month's redraw. We've got our background up for the next month, and I gotta say, I think this is one of my favorite sets of redraws yet. I mean, it helps that I've gotten super into drawing monsters and dragons this month. And now, of course, I have to give out the topic for the next month's submissions, and what I want people to send in for their drawings is anything. But it has to involve your favorite food. Maybe that's a character eating your favorite food, or a monster made out of your favorite food, or a superhero that's based around your favorite food. Really, anything you want just has to involve your favorite food in some way. And it might not strictly be a redraw. I might be taking the characters and making alternate versions of them. Gonna leave that a little bit up in the air, but you'll see what happens when we actually get to the redraw at the end of the month. But that's all for this episode. Thank you again to everyone who submitted. Even if your art wasn't redrawn or shown in the video, I go through all of the art that was submitted to Characters for Pop in the Discord or to popcrossanimations@gmail.com. I saw every single piece. There was so much cool stuff, and I can't wait to see what you all send in for the next month. I'm Christian Pearson. This has been PopCross Studios, home of the nerdiest art videos on YouTube, and I will see you all in the next one, which is a Dragons episode voted on by the subscribers. Catch y'all later, everybody. Goodbye.